Hi there, this is Dennis Velco. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of OutBüro Voices, where we have engaging conversations with LGBTQ professionals, entrepreneurs, and community leaders from around the world. And this fella today ticks all three of those boxes, I would say. His name is Michael Johnson-Ellis. He is from Worcestershire. Did I say that right? Just like the sauce, folks, in the UK. And welcome to the show, Michael.
Hi, how you doing? Thank you for having me.
Well, absolutely. Whenever we first talked, you were describing what you're doing for LGBTQ families in the UK. And being an adoptive parent myself, I just felt a real strong connection with you. And of course, a good understanding about what you're doing and why. But could you please, for our audience, both in the viewing and the listening audience, give a little bit of background as to what got you where you are today, okay?
Of course. Well, look, thanks again for inviting me along. So I guess my journey started when I met my husband, and we met in June 2012. And when I met him, we met in Birmingham in the UK, met at a Pride event. And shortly after our meeting, I discovered that he had a child with his ex-wife. And being a father and being a parent is something that I desperately wanted. So meeting someone that had children or wanted children was something that I was keen to meet with. So we had that conversation about me wanting children and our relationship was going in the right direction. So we started looking into surrogacy. That's how we wanted to build our family. And we started exploring what all of those options were. But there was a real stumbling block, really, because there was a lack of support and information out there for particularly intended fathers that want children through surrogacy. Especially in the UK. Surrogacy in the UK is perfectly legal, but it's a complete minefield just trying to find reliable information. We spent nearly 3 years researching surrogacy, both internationally and in the UK. And we then discovered that there was a real gap in the market to support more and more people on a surrogacy journey, specifically from the LGBTQ community. So we created a profile on Instagram and Facebook, which was Two Dads UK. And that kind of documented our fertility journey and our journey to parenthood through surrogacy. And that very quickly gathered a lot of attention. Some media attention, some brand collaborations came of it. And we very quickly discovered that we were overwhelmed with people needing our support and our information. So we continue to help people through Two Dads UK that are on a journey to parenthood. We've supported over 300 people so far. And what we have further gone on to develop is the Modern Family Show in the UK. So what that is, it's the only UK LGBTQ family building event, which is taking place in September 2021. And it's an event which is designed around educating and signposting information for family building for our community. So whether that's adoption or fostering or co-parenting or egg or sperm donation or IVF, or if you're from the trans community, there's fertility preservation support. It's literally encompassing everything. So people from the LGBTQ plus community can go. It's a safe space that's designed for people to get, reliable information. And that was formed last year. And because of COVID, that's now taking place at a slightly later date than what was originally planned. So that's now taking place in September. So that's the two main things that we've been doing. And then there's obviously other things that we've been launching through lockdown.
Okay, wow, well, that is quite a bit and quite an undertaking as well. And, I will admit that I've not really been a whole lot on Instagram. And so what kinds of things were you guys posting throughout that journey? Was it on Instagram mostly just like photos with a little caption, or how did you kind of build that attention on that particular site?
It was really all about just documenting through video and photographs, what a fertility journey looks like for two men. And then once we had our children, we had a daughter that was born in 2016 and our son was born in 2019. We just document everyday parenting life, but within that we also support the trying to conceive communities, so those that are either struggling to conceive or have infertility or want information on surrogacy. So whether that's signposting clinics with great reputations or research information that is supporting those that are on a fertility journey themselves. We will do that again through either specialist interviews like what you do with people from that community, or again through little snippets of what our life is like as a two-dad family, some of the prejudices that we might face or some of the challenges that you may have being a two-dad family, and all of those little anecdotes that will just give people a greater picture and understanding of what gay parenting is like.
Very interesting, very cool. And so, maybe share, if you can, think of a few moments, and I'll give you a few moments to think about that, of kind of experiences that you've had, either kind of awkward or surprising. And I'll share one, as we shared before getting on, and several, if you've been following my videos, know that I'm an adoptive parent. We looked at the foster system. We were living in California at the time, and went through a wonderful 6-week program put on by LA County, which was all about loss and attachment issues, especially in the foster care system when you're receiving a child, to care for them while the court deals with the parent and so forth, and what that child might go through. But at the end of the day, we realized we calculated if we did end up, especially in a foster system where you're open to adopt, the child comes in and they may go back to the parents, and that might happen several times before you actually have the opportunity to adopt. And we just realized at the age that we were, calculating the probability of OMG, how old will we be, when this happens? And we wanted to still be young enough to, not be 80 years old when, a child is only 12, you know what I mean? So we ended up changing course and doing newborn adoption, and went through that whole process. And so there is a nationwide company that here in the U.S. that focuses on newborn adoption and focuses on the LGBTQ community. For those that are out there, it's called Adopt Help, adopthelp.com. Mark and his wife, who are the attorneys, are a fabulous couple who run that. And but it was very interesting as going to playgrounds and indoor play facilities and so forth. It was very interesting sometimes, and we had lived in a couple of locations during his first 6 years of his life, and now he's about to turn 11. And depending on where we were, sometimes we would get those looks of like, oh, OMG, look at that. It looks like those two men are the parents. Oh, so we've had to deal with that in a few little areas, but we've also been pleasantly surprised. And it's amazing how many women, mothers, would come up to me, because I was typically the one doing all of the kind of outing activities, going to the parks and so forth with my son. And I had a few single moms trying to hit on me, thinking that I was a single dad. That was kind of funny. And two, it was very kind of refreshing, because I had women talk to me about parenthood, motherhood, parenthood, etc. And several would say, "Oh my gosh, I've never told my girlfriends this." And they were just kind of opening up to me on how difficult uh, it is, being a parent, that transition. And I think it's very much more so for two men, because we don't have that gestation period, we don't have that nesting period, we don't go through the hormonal changes that a heterosexual man does with a female. That's scientifically proven, folks. Google it. And so, it kind of softens them a bit, and it just kind of prepares them for it. And so I could totally relate with these, women, and saying, and I would sometimes, chop back and say, "Oh, well, you think you've got it tough as, as a female. Think what two dudes go through. We didn't have that whole experience of getting pregnant as many times as I've tried, never got pregnant." You don't go through that. And so at any rate, just have you had any kind of experiences in and around any of that I just kind of shared? And because I think it's sometimes things that people don't really, talk about. I mean, it's like I went from traveling 70 to 80% of my time to literally within 2 weeks being the stay-at-home parent with a newborn. That was tough.
Yeah, I think, we had our children through surrogacy, and we have and kept a relationship with our surrogate along. We were there at conception, so we were there for the embryo transfer, and we were there throughout the entire pregnancy. So I guess we did get to have and experience a pregnancy firsthand to a degree. But in terms of what that journey is like and how we fit into a very heteronormative society, and you're reminded of the fact that you're two men, because society is not quite prepared or fit for two male parents, and you're reminded of that when you want to change your child and you want to change their nappy. You'll go to the men's bathrooms if you're out, and there's no changing stations, so you're changing them on the floor. And yes, while there's changing stations in sort of disabled toilets, that's kind of not the point. Now, the UK is quite bad at making sure that male bathrooms have adequate changing facilities. So that's one of the challenges. And we came up with an initiative called Dad's Change Too. And that was a not-for-profit initiative to enable restaurants, bars, government buildings to install changing facilities in male bathrooms for dads, regardless of, gay or straight. So, that's one of the challenges that we face. I think being two men, when you're out with your children, and especially if you're alone, people always assume that you're just giving mom a rest, and oh, is she at home? And I'm like, sorry, who you're referring to? Oh yeah, mom, is she at home? And I'm like, no, there's no mom. Oh, okay. Is it your sister's child? No, it's not my sister's child. I know, and I'll sometimes, depending what mood I'm in, I'll just let it go. And then we've had instances where we've traveled with the kids, and I think that's one thing that people don't realize as a gay parent. You really have to be careful where you travel to and where you don't travel to, because there are countries that I've been to as a single man and as a gay guy with my partner that I definitely wouldn't go with my children, because I wouldn't want them to experience any homophobia or any negativity, or put them in a situation such as that. So travel is definitely something that we have to consider differently than, I guess, heterosexual parents do, because not every destination is gay friendly in terms of gay family friendly. So that's probably a few of the issues that I think are not particularly great. And one of the, everyone's always inquisitive and curious about who's the real dad, and that's something that we get, which is, I get people are curious, but it's something that always makes me smile, because you wouldn't dream of asking a heterosexual couple that have had fertility treatment to create their family. You know, you wouldn't turn to the guy and ask him if it was his sperm that they used to create their family. Whereas people have actually asked us that exact question, those exact words, in a supermarket or on holiday. Strangers that don't even know us have asked, you know, who's the real dad, or whose sperm did you use to create your kids? And I'm just like, what? Why does that matter? But like you, you know, we're both the dad. We're both the real dad. That's what we do day in, day out.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And yes, I've had, well, when we were both out together, my ex and I, we would just get looks. Our son is Latino heritage. So beautiful olive tone skin, dark eyes, dark hair, etc. And when I would be alone, women would, if I was, until they got the 411 on what was happening there, I would often get the statement of, "Oh, my son is extremely handsome." And so he has been since he was a baby. He could have been one of those Gerber babies. It was absolutely beautiful. And they would say, "Oh my gosh, your wife must be absolutely gorgeous." And I say, "Well, I'm not. I don't have a wife." They're like, "Oh, you're a single dad." And that's when the whole, "Oh, I have a girlfriend who's a single parent," kind of a thing. And, trying to hook me up with with a female. And it's like, well, my husband, it's like there's awkward little situations. It's like you, sometimes I would just let it go, and and then other times I would I would say probably about 75% of the time I would make a statement just as a bit of education. Not that I was trying to be snarky or bitchy or anything like that, but I would just say, as a matter of fact, no, my husband and I adopted our son. Yes, he's of a Latino heritage, blah, blah, blah. And then, sometimes it would just roll over their backs and, no big deal. And then sometimes we would get kind of those looks of shock and surprise. Mm-hmm. So it was, and I can definitely understand, the travel. I mean, certainly you're not going to take children to, some gay destinations that are known for, single life, we'll say. So interesting. Now, so for your conference, essentially your summit that's going to be happening coming up here in September of 2021, and of course, if you are listening to this after that time period, obviously check out the website in the notes for the next event. So how have you involved, or tell me about kind of your participating, either sponsors or, panelists, guest speakers, and so forth. Do they come from companies, medical background, family services backgrounds, etc.?
Sure. So the Modern Family Show was something that was created when we went to a huge fertility expo in London, and we were there as Two Dads UK, and we were astonished with how very little information was there for our community. We were incredibly busy, so it was really good for us. But during that particular weekend of that expo, I noticed a trans couple, and I could see a couple of other people that were staring, and my heart literally hurt, and I could see them wanting to try and speak to a stand about fertility treatment, but they were just so embarrassed, and because of the unwanted attention that they were getting from other people. Well, I went over to them, I spoke to them, and we managed to help them. And it made me and my husband say, there needs to be a safe space for the LGBTQ community to speak about all types of family forming, not just surrogacy, about every piece and every pillar. So we thought, right, let's create a brand. Let's use our existing network that we've developed. I've always worked in the fertility industry. My background was a fertility medical recruiter, so I've got quite a good network. So I went out to a whole bunch of contacts, and within 4 months, the show is completely sold out in terms of the people wanting to be there. And we've got a ton of people from all over the world that are coming to talk about their particular product and talk about LGBTQ family forming. We've got companies coming from Canada and the US, and Cyprus and Europe, and Australia, as well as in the UK. But what we wanted to do, we didn't want this just to be an exhibition. We wanted this to be an event, and this had to feel a bit different. It had to feel, there's a real boutique feel to it, but a massive emphasis on education, and a real emphasis and a support network for parents that potentially had children with gender dysphoria that just didn't know where to go or where to turn to if they needed help. So we've got specialist lecturers from the Tavistock and from some leading NHS hospitals that specialise in gender dysphoria, as well as trans fertility preservation. And then other incredible fertility experts that can talk about fertility treatment for same-sex females, for solo intended parents. And we've got people like Adoption UK there to talk to us about adoption, and a whole other charitable organisations that are also going to either talk about surrogacy or fostering or co-parenting. So we've got a real broad spectrum of organisations that have come together for our first event. Like I say, it's been postponed twice because of COVID. So we're now hoping that September 2021 is going to be the month for this particular event.
Well, it sounds awesome. And yes, I hope at least by September, we're all back to quasi-normal. OMG, I'm so sick of this. Well, that is so amazing that you were, for your first event, had all of basically your slots taken within 4 months. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And I imagine once this is accomplished and successful, as you're planning your next event, you'll have all those lined up and sell out in 4 weeks, not 4 months.
So, let's hope so.
Well, cool. So what if any kind of experience is there for, folks to get connected? So outside of the expo, which sounds amazing, you mentioned that you're on Instagram. Are there any other kind of online abilities to connect, communicate, and exchange ideas?
Absolutely, yeah. So first of all, Two Dads UK is on Instagram and Facebook. And you can simply search twodads.u.k for Two Dads UK on both of those channels. It's also on Twitter, which is twodads_UK. The Modern Family Show is also on Instagram and Facebook, and that's simply The Modern Family Show. And that's also on Twitter as well with the same handle. All of our brands and businesses are also on LinkedIn. And we're also have a third not-for-profit, which is My Surrogacy Journey, which is also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Well, awesome. Well, naturally, I'd love to have you guys on OutBüro.com.
I've already registered.
Wonderful. You're more than welcome to start a group because, of course, being a professional is not just about work, right? I talk about, and many of our shows talk about, kind of a whole life approach. And, for those who are seeking to to form a family, I would love to have you guys, represent the LGBTQ family creation space, so that folks can have all of that in one fell swoop. So I definitely get your whys. I always ask that, the whys. Why and how is this important to you? And what maybe, without getting too far ahead of yourself, I know you're still having your first expo coming up, but what kind of vision do you have for this? Let's say a 3 to 5 year. What are your kind of goals?
Well, I think one of the things that we pride ourselves on is that we want to capture as many of the corners of first of all, the main pillar of what we were setting out to do was to support people, and initially that was with surrogacy. The Modern Family Show is something which is a real unique event, which again looks after all family forming for all of the community. The plan is for that particular show that we already have interest to take that to the States. So 2022, we're looking at San Francisco and also to Canada, to Toronto. So we already have interests from sponsors to take it in 2022 to do 2 shows abroad. So that's great news. And our network has already taken interest for people that are already willing to potentially sponsor or be involved. So that's wonderful. But then what we wanted to do is, we're known Two Dads UK is really that go-to organization in the UK for UK surrogacy. So we wanted to make sure that we were supporting everybody on a fertility journey. So that's what our next project was, creating My Surrogacy Journey. And that's really going to be the future of what we're doing as a whole. Because that's a much bigger project than anything we've ever taken on. It was born out of a labour of love to produce a phenomenal fertility tech-based product and organisation that supports both gay and straight people on a UK or an international safe surrogacy journey. And that's specialising mainly in the UK, Canada and the US. So that's our biggest plan for the next 3 to 5 years, because it's awesome. Sucking all of the life out of us, but it's certainly going to be, it doesn't feel like work. It's definitely a really enjoyable project. It's been a real emotional journey. It's one of our most ambitious plans to date. And that officially launches in February 2021. More information on that is being released on our social channels sort of every other week.
Okay, well, we will definitely have links to all of your different sites in the episode show notes. Well, very interesting. So I guess just as a parent to parent, what after becoming a parent, has there been anything that kind of surprised you?
Yeah, I was really, firstly, being a parent is and has been the most incredible thing that I've ever done in my life. And it's the thing that I think that has defined me the most. It's certainly made me less selfish, more considerate. I feel like it's made me a better human and a more understanding human. I am to this day reminded every morning of the hold and the love that these 2 tiny humans that we made, of how much they've got me and how much they will always have me, because the pull at your heart from being a parent is something that is really difficult to explain, but it's the single most joyous gift that I have in my life, and it's certainly been the one thing that I think has not only defined me but saved me.
I can completely understand, and I think many of our listeners who have children now will definitely collaborate that. And for those out there listening, it is a life-changing event, and especially as you know, it's no disrespect to lesbian couples out there, but you know, they bake it, as I say, right? They have a slightly easier time in creating a family versus two men, where you know we're totally reliant on other help, right? so uh, but it is totally worth it. It's literally life changing, and really puts a different perspective on practically everything that you do. And so very good, and you know, really appreciate what you're doing for the community, and taking your own experiences and seeing the need, the gap, the need, and trying to fill that need with great useful services.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's super kind.
Yes, well, awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing a little bit about what you're doing. Is there any last words before I let you go? Because I'm sure with the little ones, they're probably waiting on you.
I can hear one of them already. No, again, just thank you. And if anybody wants to get in touch or have any questions, or just wants to say hi, then our socials are always open for new followers and for new friends. So yeah, be good to make new acquaintances.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy workday and family schedule to chat with us today. Well, thank you everyone for staying tuned to this episode of OutBüro Voices, where we have conversations just like this. We come out once to multiple times a week, so be sure that you subscribe or follow or whatever mechanism on the application that you're listening to. Thank you so much for tuning in today. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.